my personal example, when I had a blocked throat chakra, I got to the point in a situation where I thought I didn't care, so I just stopped communicating. And the result of that was the person on the other end, the relationship, they were confused because they're like, well, I thought we were going to go to the left, and you didn't say don't go left, so I went left. And here you are thinking, oh, how stupid, you didn't go right.
But you never communicated.
I didn't communicate anything.
Right.
So having a blocked throat chakra is not good because it is essentially not exercising your mantra. Again, if your mantra is your saying, your belief, your purpose, your passion, like what energy you're putting out into the universe, you aren't saying or communicating anything to the universe. You're just receiving. I'm just a bowl, a vessel here to catch the drops of rain that fall into my being, versus I'm asking for and calling to the gods to send me this rain so that I may purify myself and everything around me. Yeah, so the throat chakra is very, very important also because it gets to speaking your truth, honestly communicating your needs, your wants, your desires with others, and hoping and asking that they do the same with you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Circulate. This is episode 5 of the Tiffany Wilburn series. I'm your host and producer, Gary Martin. Really enjoyed this 2-part episode with Tiffany. The episode goes on for almost an hour, which is why we broke it up into 2 parts. We're talking about the chakras and the importance of balancing the chakras out and how they help you get to enlightenment. We also Tiffany also touches on the importance of the lotus, or the significance of the lotus. And she also touches briefly on some diet tips she would have for you and I when it comes to thinking about our chakras as well. But once again, really enjoyed this episode. And this is episode 5 of the Tiffany Wilburn series. It's a 2-part episode. Enjoy. So, really enjoyed last episode. So now this one, we're going to be talking about chakras. If you guys have been listening, I'm clearly a novice when it comes to yoga. I don't really know much about it and just learning a lot from Tiffany. So you touched on chakras last time. If you're going through chakras, would you rather go from it seems like the base is like the what makes sense.
Yeah.
So you said the base chakra.
The root chakra.
Or the root chakra. Can you go through that and kind of work your way up and explain it and talking about it?
Yeah. So the root chakra is really at the base of your spine, and it correlates with your grounding energy, your security, your control, your support. It is identified by the color red, and it is identified by a 4-petal lotus flower. If you have an overactive root chakra, you could be slow to make decisions, indecisive. Think about just truly emotionally being tethered in place. Versus if you have a highly active or potentially overactive root chakra, you could be flighty. I guess that's another way of thinking about it. Like you're constantly making decisions that you haven't yet thought through, or you have very little self-control.
And
that could be.
This root is based in your feet, through your leg, your spine. The
base of your spine.
The base of your spine.
The chakras correlate with your spine and the energy that goes up and down your spine. So your spine exists from your tail up until the back of your skull.
Okay. And would I only associate it with everything like behind me, or can it exist in it in that region?
We're going to keep going up, and as I go up, you'll see.
Okay.
So some of the nerve endings, it's really about the the nervous system, which lies underneath our tissue and lies within, our skeletal system. And it's about where the nerve endings come together and create these spiraling balls of energy. Mm-hmm. There's energy that exists there. And a lot of times we don't even realize, for example, if I'm having a really stressful day and I want to release energy, women hold a lot of our energy in our sacral chakra, which is the next chakra up. Yeah, so if I continue up, which the sacral chakra actually corresponds with a 6-petal lotus flower. You'll notice the flower that it corresponds with and the color continues to change. So it's a 6-petal lotus flower, orange color, but it correlates with our receptivity, our creativity, our pleasure. It is located just beneath the navel. So it's also for a woman where her uterus and her ovaries are. So if I've had a really stressful day and I need to relax and release, for a woman, we hold a lot of energy. Sometimes in my female circles, we even say women hold the entire universe in their hips, literally. So there's certain hip opener poses, Baddha Konasana, lying on your back, or Supta Baddha Konasana, which is a reclining posture where the soles of your feet will touch and your knees will hang open. And you can allow gravity to naturally slowly open your hips, because you just are, if you have a very closed sacral chakra, you may lack creativity, you may not be as receptive to receiving or giving pleasure, you may, and it also correlates with a water sign in terms of fire, earth, water, so you may not have that fluidity and mobility in your emotions and in your love relationships and things like that.
And this is placed, right, so...
just beneath the navel.
Just beneath the navel. So one way you said to, if you're open or closed, is to, well, if you're closed, you said is to kind of stretch out your hips. Is there something else you would...
If you have so for example, if you have a very closed sacral chakra, I would recommend hip openers. So pigeon or half pigeon, or Supta Baddha Konasana, Baddha Konasana, anything seated, wide leg forward fold, anything where you're allowing your hips to release and open. Now, if you are on the opposite end and you have an overactive sacral chakra, there's no such thing as creative for creative sakes, but you're too fluid. You're not connecting with the thing that is giving you pleasure, or you're not connecting with the thing that you're trying to give pleasure. You're simply allowing the water or that current to carry you away. So things where your navel is touching the earth, so you're on your belly. Things like cobra, things like seal, postures, even just lying on the floor with your hands crossed over one another and your cheeks resting on your hands. Very, very good way to quiet the fire that is in your sacral chakra and to ground your sacral chakra.
So in both ways, you cannot be connecting, but one is that you're not connecting because you're overflowing. The other one because you are
closed. Yeah,
or you're closed.
So that's exactly what I think we talked about in the last show. Having true balance and alignment is having your chakras truly aligned. You can have an overactive chakra or an underactive chakra, but the goal is to have everything in alignment.
So what about? So it sounds like the sacral chakra is very important for women. How would you? That's my question. How would you apply that same? Is there another way you can So for men, how would you kind of say that? Is the same thing being open or closed? Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So if you're a male, one way that you might identify that you have a overactive sacral chakra is honestly, like the one sign that I've found come up time and time again is constant urination, because it's energy that's coming from either your ovaries or your testes. It's something that is constantly needing to be expelled. It's fluidity. So for guys, that's one of and it connects to the prostate. So that's one of the ways right away that I'm like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. And so that's one way. Okay. Is there any other way or not that you can think of?
And it also can get to especially for guys, their ability to connect to other women in their lives that either have the ability to either establish those creative relationships or break them down. So an example might be an appreciation for art, even if you're not an artist. A lot of guys, well, not a lot of guys, some of the men I know that have had blocked sacral chakras have very little ability to understand and appreciate art for, air quote, art's sake. They're like, oh, that's terrible, or oh, that's not art, or they just have a lot more criticism in their appreciation of creativity, or they may lack it altogether themselves. They may be stereotype meat and potato kind of guy.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I'm reading this book right now. It's called The Way of the Superior Man.
Oh.
And it talks about being in touch with your masculine and feminine. Mm-hmm. And what you describe and how you describe art and being able to kind of do those things is realizing is a man being in touch with his feminine.
Exactly.
And and what's masculine and feminine in this book are things that you would think are masculine and feminine in general, but it's interesting how the book is trying to present it where masculine and feminine has its names that you would normally think of, but it's important for men to realize when they need to be in touch with their feminine side, and important for women to realize when they need to be in touch with their masculine side. Same thing we're talking about right now, that balance. So it's funny that that's exactly what you're describing, is the balance of knowing when to be in touch with the feminine and masculine, which ultimately is one of the ways how you kind of get into that way of a superior man, right? Which, I don't know.
An enlightened man. That's what I like to think of it as.
Right.
You're an enlightened man.
So if we keep moving up.
Yeah. So you would move up into the solar plexus, which is right at the navel. And that's represented by a 10-petal lotus flower in the color yellow. I honestly, like, solar plexus used to be my favorite chakra because I think it's the easiest for everyone to understand. So have you ever heard that saying, follow your gut? That's your solar plexus. Okay. It's about the gut. It's about following your gut, that gut intuition, that connecting to something that is like a deep innate belief. That's what the solar plexus is about. It's about conscious action. It's about determination. It's about self-belief. Like, follow your gut. That's your solar plexus.
When you talk about deep innate beliefs, one of the reasons why I started Circulate or one of the Circulate principles is open mind. And one of the things I found in people that give me the most energy and that give me a positive energy is that they had this deep belief, or they've had beliefs that existed from childhood, or that was kind of like fed upon them, and somehow their experience in their life has brought them to a place to where some of these deep beliefs they no longer have. How would you connect that transition or that process of like identifying or what I'm describing is like, oh, I thought this was a deep belief and it's not there anymore? How does that exist within this same chakra?
Well, someone who has a very deep belief in something, to me, is someone who has a very balanced solar plexus in general, because they're in tune with their gut. Like they also understand there's a way that I could take this outcome. Like, the world says I should do this, but I believe I'm going to be that. To me, that is someone who has a firm hold on their solar plexus. And there's the opposite side of that could be if they had a very closed solar plexus, they would listen to the world told them. They would. Every little bit of Facebook news would make them believe that the sky is falling. Mm-hmm. So someone who has that kind of determination, to me, to see their beliefs through, to me, that's someone who has a very either developed or awakened solar plexus chakra.
Gotcha.
And you can do things to stimulate any of these chakras. So if you identify a potential gap or deficiency in any of your chakras, there's things that we can do in yoga sessions with me, or that you can do at home to either develop those competencies in the chakras that you are deficient, or dampen them if they're overactive. So someone who believes, I'm going to be president of the United States, and they've never gone to primary school. We probably need to work on that belief. Probably, maybe not going to happen. I love your determination and your belief, like you're following your gut, but that's probably an example of someone who has an overactive solar plexus.
Gotcha. So what are the poses? Because the other two you talked about.
So the poses for the solar plexus to dampen an overactive solar plexus, think again anything that you're on your belly. So think about the solar plexus as a fire that you're putting out, essentially. So some of the other poses some of the poses that can complement overactive sacral or solar plexus would be bow, and again, seal, cobra, any of those things that are connecting your body, your navel with the earth. Some of the poses that would complement a underactive sacral chakra, Dhanursara, or essentially wheel. So it's the opposite of bow.
You said down.
Dhanursara. So it's essentially wheel. You're lying on your back. You place your palms on the floor behind your fingers facing your shoulder blades, and your feet are pressing onto the earth with your knees stacked on top of your ankles, more or less. And when you press into the earth with your palms and your heels, you press your navel up towards the sky.
Oh, okay.
So it's a reverse U.
Oh, I've seen that before.
Yeah, so that's called wheel. So you can do wheel, pressing the hands and the feet into the earth, or you can do bow with your navel pressing into the ground, and your hands are reaching behind you, holding on to your ankles or the shins of your legs.
Is wheel a beginner pose? Is that something anyone can do?
It's not. I don't think I would call it a beginner pose. It depends on everyone's physiology. For some people, like, they can come off the street and have never done a yoga class, and they can throw themselves in wheel. For some people who don't have the shoulder availability, like the shoulder strength, I think that's where it's usually lacking. It's a very difficult pose. It's also a difficult pose if, especially for guys, if they have overdeveloped
traps.
Yes, thank you. Traps. If they have overdeveloped traps, anything to get their arms above their head is really difficult for them if they have really large traps.
Wow, that's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So if
traveling up.
Yeah.
So yeah, after the sacral chakra, then you would go up the spine to the heart. So we talked last time about the heart chakra, and the heart chakra correlates with the color green and a 12-petal lotus. And you'll notice that the lotus flower continues to get bigger and bigger and bigger until we get to 104-petal lotus at the top. But it correlates with the heart, the lungs, your respiratory system. It is really about love, compassion, forgiveness. And I think a lot of times we forget forgiveness for ourselves, not just forgiveness for others. So if someone has a closed heart chakra, a mantra I might prescribe to them would be, I am lovable. The decisions I made in the past aren't indicative of the decisions I will make in the future. It's about self-forgiveness, or compassion. Like, I am proud of the work that I did on that project. Like, show yourself a little compassion. As much or more compassion than you would show someone else, in fact.
Right.
Now, if someone had a overactive heart chakra, then it's really about figuring out who are the right people and what are the right instances to give of yourself, and ensure that your heart is open during the right times with the right people, so that you are allowing the right energy to come into your space.
What are the poses
for the heart? These are my favorite, actually. Well, wait, I already said that about Sacral, which, it's like choosing children. Like, I really do love sacral chakra, but I really, really, really love heart chakra.
Well, it's a balance, right? So it
is. So for me, some of the heart openers, anything where your arms are spread on either side of your shoulders. So if you're doing triangle pose, trikonasana, or you're doing, you can even do a crescent warrior and really make it into a heart opener. You can cactus your arms and make it into a really broad shoulder heart opener. I love a passive reclining heart opener where you just put a block behind your heart and literally allow your shoulders to melt around the block as you gently open your chest. I think that's the best type of heart opener for me. But anything, like I said, that is really stretching your hands or your arms at shoulder height behind the heart and pressing the heart forward.
Now, when you wake up in the morning and you're showing up on your mat, when you're making your morning diagnosis that you talked about in episode 2, if you haven't listened to it already, is that what you do? Is you do you diagnose and then you say, okay, as I go through my movements, let me focus on like what do I need today? Yeah.
I think when I wake up, for me, it's about first just getting in my body, quite frankly. It's about moving and feeling, and sometimes once I'm in my body, feeling my body moving and realizing how my body is responding to that movement, then I correlate why my body is showing up for me the way it is to, okay, what happened yesterday? Because I'm waking up with yesterday's energy. When I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, it's actually carryover at least from yesterday at 6 o'clock in the evening. So what was ailing me when I went to sleep, if anything? Who got on my bad side, or who really, revved me up, and now I'm feeling the best I've ever felt? Because it's one thing to feel a certain way, but it's so much more beneficial to be able to identify why you feel that way. Right. Because if it's a good feeling, I want to recreate that good feeling. Right. And if it's a bad feeling, I want to know what I need to do to mitigate it for the next time.
Right. Okay. So if we keep moving up, or is there anything else you can add to the...
So the heart chakra, like I said, it's just about gratitude, love of self. It's not just about your intimate relationships, but it really is about self-love. So when, I've personally gone through this before where I had a very closed heart chakra, and it was, the first step for me was showing self-compassion. And once I was able to show self-compassion, then my heart was more open to expressing that compassion to others and then receiving that love and compassion from others. So to me, the heart chakra is a very, very powerful one, and it immediately correlates with our emotional well-being.
If I loop that into what I said earlier, do you have an example of like, because it seems like for a guy, the heart chakra is in tune with, is another example of like, are you in tune with your feminine a little bit, right? And is there an example, whether it be through your accelerator or through your wellness accelerator program, which is she talks about on episode 3, by the way, or just in general that you can talk about somebody who was kind of closed off and you kind of...
Yeah, I think it's unfortunate, but my reality has been a lot of my clients that come to me that are male have almost an inactive heart chakra. Like they've not been taught to access that space in their emotional spectrum. So it's not even about being closed, but it is just inactive. They've yet to turn it on. It's like the lights in the room have always been out.
Right. Is it the natural thing where it's like be a man and all those things?
Yes.
Forced it forced it inactive? Yes.
It's unfortunate, but that has been my personal experience. A lot of the guys that come to work with me, they have almost an active heart chakra because there's a fear that an active heart chakra will cause
even more pain.
Yeah, even more pain, or it'll make me lose my callus. And it's like, well, you're callous to everyone, and yeah, that's a protective quality, but you don't realize you're actually callous to yourself. You're beating yourself up over this, and this, or you're not showing yourself love by denying yourself relationships and benefits from others. You know, you can't have you can't have a perfectly tuned car and say, I want to go on this 500-mile journey, but never turn the car on. You will not go on the journey. You will be sitting exactly where the car sat when you didn't turn it on. You have to turn it on. You have to leverage the power under your hood, and that is your heart, to get to the places that you really want to go. If you fear the power, and this is that's why I like the heart chakra. The heart chakra is so feared. It's like people rather keep the lights off and keep it inactive versus the potential of all the positivity that it could bring.
So you identify this in most men. How do you...
Yeah, so the heart chakra is also about expanding and growing. And for my clients, my male clients that had more closed heart chakras, a lot of the work we did was around letting go. It was about compassion. So some of my clients were very good at expressing compassion for others, but were terrible at receiving compassion from others. Like they were like, I'm not that important. Don't look over here and point that love towards me.
How did you, I mean, no one said that though, did they? Or how did you?
I'm a body reader.
Oh, so there's the body was saying it.
There's the body does this. At the end of the day, it's not, we are only going to say what we think we should be expected to say by the person across the table from us or by the seat from us. The body never lies. And when, especially if we're doing Reiki and I'm doing healing touch, the body never lies. I can feel the energy, whether that be blocked in your heart or blocked in your throat or overactive in your root. I mean, I can feel that energy, and then I can recommend, okay, these are the wellness modalities that I would recommend for you. I mean, some of the things we haven't talked about, but the sound healing that I do with the Tibetan singing bowls, everyone benefits from it, but there's certain people that really, really tune into that vibration, and it's that tonality and that vibration from the singing bowls does more for them than any type of words, whether they come from me or themselves, any type of movement. any type of healing touch. So once I'm able to diagnose, okay, this is what's really going on, then we can put together that wellness prescription, essentially, to address the ailments that you have. But it's unfortunate but true, especially for Black men. I feel like my brother's like, I'm like, you're killing me, guys. Like, come on, it's okay. But again, if you think about everything that they have to do to shield themselves from hurt around the world, or from the outside influences, it makes sense that they don't necessarily have a open or active heart chakra.
Mm-hmm. Is it probably not as much for women, but have you seen it exist a decent amount of time in women as well, this inactive, or is it more so?
I definitely find that anyone can have a closed heart chakra. There's really no certain age or race or gender that's more susceptible than the other. Anybody can have a closed or overactive heart chakra. My personal experience, my clients, the guys have had more instances of having a closed heart chakra, and the women have definitely had more instances of having an overactive heart chakra. Like, you're loving everyone else and you leave nothing for yourself. You're doing all of these things for the community, then you do such and such for your philanthropic organizations, and then you take care of your kids and your husband and your sister and your mom. Like, that's an overactive heart chakra too. It can become, to a certain extent, when you are allowing someone else's burdens to become your own. You can't operate in your own world and universe, because you have now taken on the worries, the burdensomes of someone else. That means your heart is so blown open that, again, you've essentially scooped all that energy up and just invited it into your heart.
Mm-hmm. And it
can be debilitating.
And what does that result in from like how you described it, or if it's too open, that just means that you're not focusing on your inner self enough?
You're not focusing on your inner self. It can literally debilitate someone. Like, they're not balanced. They are not balanced. These are symptoms. These are examples of symptoms of someone who has an overactive heart chakra. They could be overly emotional. Like, girl, I know you upset, but why are you breaking down? I mean, that dog wasn't your dog, but oh my God, that was the cutest dog ever. Okay, I know. That, like someone that is so emotionally vulnerable. Mm-hmm. Like, that is someone that it is not a compliment to have loss of emotional control. Like, you need to be able to have a certain level of control over what you allow to come into your space, because that is essentially taking over your life. You're not in control. That emotion is in control.
Wow. So if we keep moving up from the heart.
Yeah, so if we keep going up, then you go right up to the throat chakra. And the throat chakra really is about, it's about the color blue. It correlates with a 16-petal lotus. And this throat chakra, like, I've even been in situations like this before where my throat chakra was blocked, like, for a long time. And I think I'm an introvert.
I was going to ask, I was like, is it the introvert?
It's the introvert in me. But it really is about communication and explanation and identification of your needs. So my personal example, when I had a blocked throat chakra, I got to the point in a situation where I thought I didn't care, so I just stopped communicating. And the result of that was the person on the other end, the relationship, they were confused, because they're like, well, I thought we were going to go to the left, and you didn't say don't go left, so I went left. And here you are thinking, oh, how stupid, you didn't go right.
But you never communicated.
I didn't communicate anything.
Right.
So having a blocked throat chakra is not good, because you're not it is essentially not exercising your mantra. Again, if your mantra is your saying, your belief, your purpose, your passion, like what energy you're putting out into the universe, you aren't saying or communicating anything to the universe. You're just receiving. I'm just a bowl, a vessel here to catch the drops of rain that fall into my being, versus I'm asking for and calling to the gods to send me this rain so that I may purify myself and everything around me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so the throat chakra is very, very important also because it gets to speaking your truth, honestly communicating your needs, your wants, your desires with others, and hoping and asking that they do the same with you.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So how do you, what are the poses for that, I guess, to start?
So the poses that I like to do to open the throat chakra actually go really well with the heart chakra, because essentially working on your throat is about releasing your throat to the sun. So it's really about dropping the head back, allowing the throat to be open. So you can open your throat in that same gentle heart opener that I just mentioned with the block behind your heart. Mm-hmm. Your arms are spread out, your heart's pressing to the sky. Instead of having the back of your skull rested on the earth, pointing the throat up towards the sky and allowing that throat to open is really a great way to start to open the throat chakra. Lion pose, I think that's one of the, I think it's one of the ones the kids love doing. So that's, there's literally a vocal aspect of lion, and that's the entire intention, is finding your voice. Sometimes at the end of an asana series, the yoga teacher will share a collective rolling om. An om is the sound of the universe. That's the sound the universe makes when all else is quiet. And you could have gone through an entire yoga series and get to the om with the collective om session, and people are so quiet. They're like, oh, very gentle, tiny little. That is not the sound of the universe. The universe is not that quiet. It has to be a deep belly breathing om. So doing lion at the beginning of your practice will actually help stimulate your throat chakra so that you are ready and fully capable and exercise the vocal cords for the collective om.
I've been to a few yoga classes. I've never started with om.
Om?
Om.
Oh, really? Oh.
Yeah.
Do you want to do
Clearly
it together?
not, because I just said instead of om.
Yeah, think about saying home without the H.
Home.
No H, no huh.
Home.
No.
Oh, no H.
No, it's om.
Yeah, I'm not doing that after you just did it. All right, so yeah, that was too good. I already got it wrong twice.
Oh my God.
I'm showing my mask. I'm masculine clothes right now.
That's okay.
Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. Please feel free to share the show on all your social media accounts and websites, or email friends or any family that you know that might be interested in the story. Please also go to YouTube, iTunes, and other places and subscribe to the show. That would be a big help and helps us get the word out as well. Some other ways you can support the show is by signing up for a Patreon account that supports the show directly. If you go to patreon.com/circulate, there's also a support under the support tab on our website. It'll direct you to the Patreon account. Also, there's a PayPal account that people can make one-time donations. And also on our website, there's a apparel that you can purchase under the shop tab. And in general, I just hope you keep coming back and keep listening. Thank you. See you soon.